Nobody carves a city-sized space underground and then leaves no explanation for it, unless the silence itself is part of the design. Because beneath a low ridge in eastern China, under rice fields that appear unchanged for generations, there exists an engineered world so deliberate, so structured, that it cannot be accidental. Vast chambers, load-bearing pillars, stairways descending into darkness, bridges carved directly from stone. A subterranean complex shaped not by erosion, but by intention. And yet, for all its scale, precision, and labor, it arrives in our time without a clear place in history. No official chronicles, no imperial records, no construction accounts. Except for one line, a single reference that by every logic should not exist. And if that line is authentic, then everything we think we know about this site is incomplete. The place is known today as the Longyou Caves. The discovery did not begin with archaeologists or institutions, but with a stubborn pond. For years, villagers in Longyou, Zhejiang province, complained that a small body of water refused to drain. Pumps were brought in, hoses were connected, day after day water was removed, and yet the pond remained. Eventually, a local farmer named Wu Anai decided to drain it completely. When the final water receded, it revealed a hole in the clay bottom, a narrow opening. Someone lowered a light, cool air rushed upward, and beneath the earth a chamber emerged. What they had uncovered was not a natural cave. The walls were flat, the surfaces bore parallel tool marks, pillars stood at regular intervals, not randomly placed, but positioned with structural intent. One chamber led to another, then another. Stairways descended deeper, walkways bridged pits, gutters and channels traced the floors. This was architecture. Over time, more chambers were drained and entered, dozens of massive caverns, some over 30 meters high, all carved from siltstone, a material that cleaves cleanly under consistent pressure, preserving fine detail. The regularity was unsettling. Every wall bore the same diagonal chisel marks, angled uniformly, as if produced by coordinated teams following a shared method. Pillars were shaped not just to hold weight, but to distribute it evenly. Drainage systems showed clear understanding of water behavior underground. This was not hurried excavation. It was planned, and it was expensive in human effort. Estimates suggest that hundreds of thousands, possibly close to 1 million cubic meters of rock were removed by hand. To achieve this with ancient tools would require not only labor, but logistics, food supply, tool maintenance, workforce organization. Which raises the question, who authorized this? Dating methods offer a broad window. Organic material in surrounding sediments, architectural comparison, and tool mark analysis point toward an age of at least 2,000 years, likely around the Eastern Zoo period.
Ground-penetrating radar and laser scanning reveal voids extending beyond the opened chambers, suggesting the complex is larger than what has been mapped so far. And yet, no historical texts describe it. This is where the silence becomes strange. In China, large-scale construction projects almost always leave bureaucratic echoes. Even failed or abandoned works are often mentioned in annals, tax records, or regional gazetteers. The Terracotta Army was unknown for centuries, but when rediscovered, it aligned with written accounts of Qin Shi Huang's mausoleum. Petra left inscriptions. Underground cities elsewhere leave marks in memory. Longyou does not. No official acknowledgement, no legends tied clearly to its construction, no inscriptions inside the chambers. Nothing. Until that one anomalous record. A marginal note, a disputed line in a later source, a brief reference to a subterranean space in the region, vague, easily dismissed, and yet troubling. If authentic, it suggests the builders were known. If altered, it suggests memory survived imperfectly. If forged, it reflects modern hunger for narrative. But regardless of its origin, that line forces a question. Why would something this massive be forgotten or omitted? Several hypotheses attempt to answer that. One theory suggests the caves were used for storage. The temperature is stable, the drainage is sophisticated, large flat floors could support stacked goods. But the entrances are narrow. There is no evidence of shelving, bins, or containers, and carving such vast chambers purely for storage would be inefficient compared to above-ground alternatives. Another theory proposes ritual or ceremonial use. The symmetry, silence, and scale could support processions or rites conducted away from public view. Yet no altars, no consistent ritual artifacts, no human remains. Others argue the caves were quarries, stone removed and the voids abandoned, but this fails to explain the refined architecture left behind. Quarry logic removes material, it does not create bridges and staircases. Some have speculated astronomical functions. Certain shafts and alignments hinted celestial consideration, but the evidence is inconsistent. No repeated solstice markers, no cosmological carvings. Each theory answers part of the question and fails another. Which brings us back to the record. If the builders intended secrecy, perhaps the omission was deliberate, a project outside imperial authority, a regional power that left no central archive, or an oral tradition that never entered written bureaucracy. Or perhaps something else entirely. Modern analysis continues. Laser scans produce detailed 3D models. Radar suggests more chambers beyond reach. Environmental sampling refines dating. But purpose remains elusive. And so the caves stand as an argument carved in stone, proof of immense human coordination without textual memory. The single anomalous record remains unresolved.
It may be a scribal error. It may be a late echo. Or it may be the last surviving whisper of a project that was never meant to be remembered loudly. Until more evidence emerges, Longyou resists closure. It reminds us that history is not only written by those who record it, but also shaped by what is intentionally left unsaid. And perhaps that is the point. Because nobody carves a city beneath the earth without reason, and nobody forgets it by accident.